The celestial nexus hung in the darkness of space like a giant silver wheel, rotating slowly against the star-filled background. Inside this massive combat academy, hundreds of students from different worlds trained every day to become the best warriors in the galaxy. The academy floated above a neutral space station called Kepler-7, far away from any planet that belonged to any one species. Min-Ai walked through the metal corridors of the academy, her boots making soft sounds on the floor. She was a human from the outer colonies, a place far from Earth where humans had spread out into space. Her skin was pale, and her dark hair was tied back tightly. In her hand, she held a small device called a neural combat scanner. Every cadet had to wear one. It measured danger levels and told fighters when they faced someone too powerful to fight safely. She was nervous about her evaluation today. Very nervous. Min-Ai had been training at the academy for 6 months. She was good at her classes. She studied hard. She learned the theory of combat well. But when it came to fighting real opponents, she always finished in the middle. Not the best, not the worst, just average. She wanted to prove herself. She wanted to show that humans could be great warriors, too. The academy was run by beings from many different worlds. Some were tall, some were small, some had skin that glowed. But the most feared instructor was Ji-Ho. He was a Valorian, a member of a species that had been perfected over thousands of years through genetic science. The Valorians were faster, stronger, and smarter than almost any other being in the galaxy. They had never lost a combat match. Ever. And today, Min-Ai had to fight Ji-Ho. She made her way to the training circle, a large round room with smooth white walls. Other cadets watched from behind thick glass windows. They waited to see what would happen. Ji-Ho stood in the center of the circle, waiting. He was tall and lean, with silver skin that seemed to shine under the bright lights. His eyes were calm and cold, like a machine that had been set to do a job. "Min-Ai," Ji-Ho said, speaking in a voice that was quiet but very clear. "You will fight me now. I will show you the basic sequence. You will learn from watching my movements." Min-Ai stepped into the circle. The ground under her feet felt warm. She took a deep breath and put on her fighting gloves. Around her wrist, the neural scanner came to life. Usually it showed a green light. Green meant safe to fight. Yellow meant be careful. Red meant dangerous but possible. But as she watched Ji-Ho raise his hand, the scanner flashed bright red. Not the red that meant be careful. This was the red that meant death. This was the red that meant do not engage. Words appeared on the small screen. Warning, do not engage with Ji-Ho Class 5A. Threat level, lethal. Probability of serious injury, 98%. Min-Ai had heard the stories about that warning light. 3 years ago, a cadet had ignored it. He fought Ji-Ho anyway. The fight lasted only 12 seconds. The cadet woke up in the medical center, and he never walked the same way again. The warning was never wrong. Everyone in the observation deck was watching. The air felt thick and heavy. Ji-Ho's hand moved, and blue light sparked from his palm. An energy blade appeared, one of the weapons used for training. It could cut through steel. It could definitely cut through human skin. The blade was only as thick as a piece of paper, but it was sharp enough to slice through anything. When the blade comes down, Ji-Ho explained, the human body cannot stop it. Your bones are too soft. Your muscles are too weak. This is why humans have never trained with live blades. It is not smart. Today, you will see why. He raised the blade above his head. The movement was smooth and perfect. Every muscle moved exactly as it should. There was no waste of energy, no extra motion. This was a being who had been designed to fight. Min-Ai watched the blade come down toward her. It moved fast, very fast. Faster than she could think. Faster than her eyes could really follow. She should have moved. She should have run. She should have thrown up her hands to protect her face. But something else happened instead. Without thinking, without planning, Min-A's hands came up. She caught the blade between her palms. Time stopped for everyone watching. The blade pressed against her skin. There was heat from the energy, but no cutting. Min-A's hands were open, her fingers spread wide, and the blue energy blade sat between them like a piece of paper. She could feel the power pushing against her, trying to cut, trying to slice, trying to do what it was made to do. But her hands held firm. Jiho's face changed for the first time. His cold eyes grew wider. He tried to push the blade down with more force. Min-A felt the pressure grow. It hurt. It burned. But she did not let go. She held the blade there, her teeth clenched, her muscles shaking. Min-A looked at the Valorian instructor and spoke. Her voice was shaking, but her words were clear. "Engage anyway." Then she released the blade and stepped back. For a moment, nothing happened. The observation deck was completely silent. Then sounds exploded everywhere. Alarms started beeping. A medical team began moving toward the training circle, thinking Min-A was hurt. Instructors were talking loudly, asking each other what they had just seen. But Jiho was not moving. He was staring at Min-A. He held the blade in front of him, looking at it as if the blade itself might have broken. Then he looked at Min-A again. "Again," he said. It was not a command. It was a request. Min-A did not say anything. She simply moved into a fighting position. Her hands were still burning from the heat of the blade, but she felt something inside her waking up. Something that had been sleeping. The evaluation that was supposed to be a simple demonstration had become something else entirely. It had become a real fight between a human girl and a perfect alien warrior. The doctors and instructors in the observation deck forgot to move. They just watched. Jiho came at her with his blade again, and this time, Min-A did not just defend. She attacked back. Her movements were not as perfect as his. They were not as clean, but they were unpredictable. They were alive. And for the first time in his long life, the great Valorian warrior Jiho found himself struggling to understand what his opponent would do next. The fight between Min-A and Jiho lasted for almost an hour. It should not have been possible. Humans did not have the stamina for long battles. Humans did not have the strength. Everyone watching had been taught that human bodies were weak. But Min-A kept fighting, and Jiho kept coming, his silver face showing nothing, his blade moving like water that could cut. 40 minutes into the fight, Min-A's lungs burned like fire inside her chest. Her arms were covered in small cuts from the blade. Her legs felt like they were made of water. But every time Jiho attacked, she found a way to defend. Every time he moved, she learned something new. Every time he showed her his technique, she found a hole in it. The observation deck above the training circle was in complete chaos. Medical teams did not know what to do. Instructors were calling their superiors on communication devices. Some people in the crowd were standing up, their hands over their mouths in shock. No one had ever seen anything like this before. Dr. Nari was the Academy's chief medical officer. She watched Min-A from the glass window with worry in her eyes. She was ready to rush down and stop the fight if the girl fell. But something in the way Min-A moved told Nari that this human girl was different. This was not just lucky, this was not a mistake. This was something real. Jinho sat in the observation deck too. He was another human cadet, and he was Min-A's friend. They had studied together many nights, going over combat theory and reading about different species and their abilities. Jinho had thought Min-A was smart, but not special. Now he watched her fight a Valorian and not die, and he felt something change in his understanding of what humans could do. After 52 minutes, both Min-A and Jiho were exhausted. The blade moved slower now. Minnie's punches had less power behind them, but they were still fighting. The battle was reaching a point where it had to end. Jiho made a move that was a classic Valorian finishing technique. He was too tired to do it perfectly, but it was still very good. The blade came at Min-A from the left side, aimed at her shoulder. If it connected, her arm would be cut clean off. There would be no recovery from that. Min-A saw the attack coming, but instead of running away or defending, she did something that no one in the observation deck expected. She moved forward, not backward. She moved into the attack. Her hand came up and caught the blade again, but this time she used the momentum of the blade to turn around Jiho. The Valorian warrior lost his balance. For the first time in his perfect life, a student knocked him down. Jiho fell on his back. Min-A stood above him, breathing hard, her body shaking. The energy blade was still in her hand. She could have cut him. She could have ended this. But she dropped the blade and stepped back. Then she fell to the floor. She was too tired to stand anymore. The observation deck went wild. Doctors ran into the training circle. Alarms were screaming. Instructors were shouting. Min-A was lifted onto a stretcher and taken to the medical center. Jiho got up slowly and walked out of the circle. He did not say anything. His cold, perfect face showed nothing. But inside, something was broken in his understanding of the world. In the medical center, Dr. Nari worked on Min-A's wounds. They were not as bad as the doctor had feared. The cuts were shallow. The burns from the energy blade would heal in a few days. But Nari was confused. These burns should have gone much deeper. The blade should have done much more damage. It was as if Min-A's body was made of something stronger than normal human skin. "How do you feel?" Nari asked, putting bandages on Min-A's hands. "Like I fought a Valorian," Min-A said, and she tried to laugh but just coughed instead. Nari looked at her student and made a decision. She was going to find out what made this girl so special. She was going to take blood samples, run genetic tests, do everything she could to understand. The Academy's leadership was already asking questions. The Valorian Empire had sent a message saying that Jiho's loss was impossible. It demanded an explanation. 2 days later, Min-A was allowed to leave the medical center. Commander Tae-sung, who ran the entire academy, called her to his office. The commander was Korean, like Min-A, though he had been born in space and had never seen Earth. He was tall and strong, and he had kind eyes. "Min-A," Tae-sung said, "you have done something that has never been done before. You have shown that a human can fight a Valorian and not lose completely. The whole galaxy is talking about this. The Valorian Empire is angry. Other species are saying different things. Some are saying you cheated. Some are saying the scanner was wrong. What do you think?" Min-A asked. "I think," Tae-sung said slowly, "that we need to know more. Dr. Nari has been running tests. The results are very interesting. You have something in your genetic code that we thought was lost thousands of years ago. It is a human trait, something that comes from your ancient ancestors. It gives your brain and body the ability to change and adapt very quickly when you are under extreme stress." Min-A did not understand everything the commander said, but she heard the main thing. She was different. Her body had something special in it. "What does it mean?" she asked. "It means," Tae-sung said, smiling, "that humanity may have been underestimated for a very long time, and it means that you are going to change everything. But first, you need to understand what you can do. Then, you need to teach others. The Valorian Empire will want a rematch. Other species will want to test you. You will need to be ready." Min-A thought about her fight with Jiho. She thought about how scared she had been, and how she had done it anyway. She thought about how her body had known what to do, even when her mind was full of fear. "Will you teach me?" she asked the commander. Tae-sung nodded. "No, you will teach us. But yes, I will help you understand what you are becoming." That night, Min-A could not sleep. She lay in her small room in the academy and thought about everything that had changed. The day before, She was just an average student. Now the whole galaxy knew her name. The Valorian Empire was angry. Scientists were studying her blood, and the scanner on her wrist no longer showed red when she thought about fighting strong opponents. It showed yellow, which meant dangerous, but possible. And somewhere in her chest, Min-I felt something new growing. It was not fear. It was not pride. It was a feeling of power, but the kind of power that was quiet and deep. It was the power of someone who had done the impossible and lived to tell about it. The real challenges were only beginning. 3 weeks after her fight with Jiho, Min-I stood in a large testing facility deep inside the Celestial Nexus. The walls around her were covered with screens showing numbers and pictures of her body. Dr. Nari stood beside her, looking at the information with great interest. Next to Nari was a scientist from the Valorian Empire named Zek. Zek was not happy. His blue skin seemed to darken with anger as he looked at the results. "This is not possible," Zek said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping. "The human should not survive the blade at all. Valorian genetic science has been perfected over 10,000 years. A being like Min-I should fall in seconds. This test is wrong." "The test is not wrong," Dr. Nari said calmly. "I have run it 50 times. The results are always the same. Min-I's body has something we call adaptive neural plasticity. When she is under extreme stress, her brain rewires itself. It changes. It learns faster than any other species we have studied." Min-I listened to them talk as if she was not in the room. She was used to this by now. Ever since her fight with Jiho, she had been studied constantly. Doctors took her blood. Scientists put devices on her head that measured her brain activity. Other cadets watched her in training. The whole academy was curious about what she was. "Show us the brain scans again," Zek demanded. Nari touched a button, and a large three-dimensional picture of a brain appeared in the air above a table. It was Mine's brain, and it was glowing in different colors. Red showed areas that were very active. Blue showed areas that were calm. "During normal activity," Nari explained, "Mine's brain looks like any other human brain. The connections between different parts are good but not extraordinary. But look what happens when she is under extreme stress." She touched another button. The brain picture changed. Suddenly, connections appeared that had not been there before. New pathways of light lit up between different parts of the brain. The red and blue colors swirled and mixed. "The brain is rewiring itself in real time," Nari said. "It is like watching a computer reprogram itself while the computer is still working. New neural pathways are forming. Old ones are being used in new ways. The brain is making new connections to solve problems that it has never faced before. This is why Min-A could fight Jiho. Her body learned how to counter his movements not from training, but from actually fighting him." Zek stared at the glowing brain. He was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. "If this is true, if humans have this ability, then the Valorian conquest of this sector was based on a false understanding. We believed that we were superior because we were perfected, but if humans have adaptive abilities, then they were never truly inferior. They were simply never given the chance to develop." "That is exactly what it means," Nari said. Min-A felt a strange feeling in her chest. She was not just Min-A the cadet anymore. She was suddenly a puzzle that the whole galaxy wanted to solve. She was evidence that something everyone believed was wrong. Over the next 2 weeks, Min-A became the center of many experiments. She fought different species in controlled situations. She wore special helmets that measured her brain activity while she fought. Every move she made was recorded. Every punch, every kick. Every moment when her body seemed to know what to do before her mind told it to move. The results were always the same. Under pressure, Min-I's brain adapted. She could not predict her opponent's moves before they happened, but she could adjust to them faster than any other species. Where a Valorian fighter relied on programming and mathematical perfection, Min-A relied on something that was more like art. She felt the fight. She became part of it. Ji-Ho came to watch one of her training sessions. He stood behind glass as other cadets did, and he watched Min-A fight a Zelthran warrior, a being from a species known for their incredible strength. The Zelthran was twice as heavy as Min-A. His muscles were like rock. He should have crushed her. But Min-A did not fight him with strength. She used his own weight against him. She found angles that made his strength work against him instead of for him. She moved in ways that were unexpected and beautiful. After 30 minutes, the Zelthran was exhausted, and Min-A was standing, breathing hard, but still strong. After the fight, Ji-Ho asked to speak with her. They met in a quiet part of the academy, away from other people. Ji-Ho looked strange outside of the training circle. He seemed smaller somehow, or maybe just more human, if a Valorian could ever seem human. "I have been studying the data about your fight with me," Ji-Ho said. "I have watched the recordings 1,000 times. I do not understand how you did what you did. I was programmed with perfect technique. I should have destroyed you in moments, but I did not. And the more I think about it, the more I wonder if what I believed was true." "What do you mean?" Min-A asked. "I mean," Ji-Ho said slowly, "that perfection might be a weakness. Valorians are perfect. We follow our programming exactly. We are like machines that have been made to fight. We cannot change. We cannot adapt. But you are not perfect. Your movements are sometimes clumsy. Your timing is sometimes wrong. But you change. You learn. You become something different as the fight continues. You are not perfect, but you are alive in a way that I am not." Min-A did not know what to say to this. She wanted to tell Ji-Ho that she was scared. She wanted to tell him that she had no idea what she was doing. But she knew that was not true. Something inside her, something that lived in her bones and in her blood, had known exactly what to do. "What happens now?" she asked instead. "Now," Ji-Ho said, "the Valorian Empire demands that you fight me again. They say the first fight was not a true match. They want to prove that their champion can defeat a human. There will be a formal tournament. The strongest warriors from many species will be invited. You will fight against the best the galaxy has to offer." "Will you fight me again?" Min-A asked. Ji-Ho looked at her for a long moment. Then he did something that surprised Min-A very much. He bowed. It was the bow that one warrior gives to another warrior that they respect. "If we meet again," Ji-Ho said, "it will not be because I want to prove that I am better. It will be because I want to understand how you are what you are. That is enough for me." After Ji-Ho left, Min-A stood alone in the quiet corridor. She thought about everything that had happened since that day in the training circle. She thought about the blade in her hands. She thought about catching it, holding it, and refusing to let go. She realized that she was not afraid anymore. The scanner on her wrist showed nothing but yellow now. And yellow meant that anything was possible if you were brave enough to reach for it. The tournament was coming, and Min-A was ready to face whatever came next, because she had learned the most important truth of all. Humans were not weak. They were just different, and different could be the strongest thing of all. The news about Min-A spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Communication devices sent her story from system to system. Within weeks, every major species knew that a human girl had fought a Valorian warrior and did not lose. Some species were shocked, some were excited, some were very angry. The Galactic Council held a meeting on the neutral station, Kepler 7. Representatives from dozens of species came to discuss what Min-A meant for the future of the galaxy. The Valorian Empire argued that the fight was unfair, that Mine had used some kind of hidden technology. But scientists and doctors from neutral species presented the data. The data showed that what Min-I had done was real. It was natural. It was human. Commander Tai Sung presented evidence that humans had always had this ability. He showed ancient records from Earth, thousands of years old, from a time when humans were hunters and warriors. The human ancestors had developed their brains to adapt to any challenge. Over time, as humans became more civilized, this ability had been forgotten. But it was still there, hidden in their genetic code, waiting to be awakened. Humans were held back, Tai Sung said to the council. Not because we were weak, but because we were never given the chance to grow. The colonial powers who controlled our worlds did not want us to become strong. They wanted us to stay small and easy to control. But the truth is that humans have always been warriors. We have always been survivors. We just needed someone like Min-I to show the galaxy that this is true. The meeting caused a great change in how the galaxy thought about humanity. Scientists wanted to study humans more. Military leaders wanted to hire human warriors. Political leaders wanted to make deals with Earth. And the Valorian Empire was forced to admit that humans were not inferior. They were just different. Min-I did not care much about politics. She cared about becoming better at what she did. Commander Tai Sung gave her a new role. She was still a cadet, but now she was also a teacher. She would train other humans to use their adaptive abilities. She would develop new fighting techniques that were based on human nature, not alien nature. Her first students were Jin-Ho and Nari. Jin-Ho was the young cadet who had watched her fight Ji-Ho. He was fast and smart, and he wanted to learn. Nari was the doctor, but she said she wanted to understand fighting from inside her own body, not just from looking at other people's bodies. Min-A stood in a training room with Jin-Ho and Nari. The room was empty except for a few training dummies and some soft pads on the floor. This was nothing like the formal training circle where she had fought Ji-Ho. What we are going to learn, Min-A said, is not technique. Technique is what Valorians have. They follow rules. They do the same thing every time. But we are different. We do not follow rules. We create new ones as we go. How do we do that? Nari asked. We do it by forgetting what we think we know, Min-I said. Close your eyes, both of you. Jin-Ho and Nari closed their eyes. Now, Min-I continued, I am going to push you. Not hard. Just a small push. You cannot use your eyes to see it coming. You cannot think about what you should do. You just have to feel the push and react. Understand? They nodded. Min-A pushed Jin-Ho gently on his chest. Without thinking, without seeing it coming, Jin-Ho moved backward. His body knew what to do without his brain telling it. Then Min-A pushed Nari, and she did the same thing. Again, Min-A said, this time I will push harder. But keep your eyes closed. Feel the push and let your body decide what to do. She pushed them again and again. Each time their bodies moved in different ways. Sometimes they stepped back. Sometimes they turned their bodies. Sometimes they reached out with their hands to catch themselves. They were all different reactions to the same push, and none of them had been planned. After an hour, Min-A had them open their eyes. Do you see? She said. You are not following a pattern. Your bodies are choosing different reactions every time. That is what adaptation is. That is what makes us strong. A Valorian would do the same move every time. That is predictable. But you were all different. That is not weakness. That is strength. Over the next 3 months, Min-I trained other human cadets in this way. She taught them to trust their bodies. She taught them to move without thinking. She taught them to become like water, which flows in different directions depending on what is in front of it. Some humans were good at it, some were not. But those who learned well became very strong. There were problems, though. Some human cadets pushed their brains too hard, trying to adapt too much. They got headaches. Some had problems sleeping. One cadet pushed so hard that he hurt his own brain. He had to spend weeks in the medical center recovering. Minai felt terrible about this. She had wanted to teach humans to be strong, not to hurt them. She talked to Commander Tae-sung about it. "You are learning an important lesson," Tae-sung said. "Power always comes with a price. We can give humans this ability to adapt, but we cannot give them the wisdom to use it correctly. That takes time. That takes practice. And sometimes people will get hurt. That is sad, but it is true." "How do I know when to push them harder and when to let them rest?" Minai asked. "You watch them," Tae-sung said. "You become their teacher, not just their trainer. You teach them not just how to fight, but how to know their own limits. That is what makes a teacher great." Minai went back to her students with this in her mind. She still trained them hard, but she also paid attention to each person as an individual. She learned what each one needed. She learned who was ready to push harder and who needed to rest. Slowly, carefully, she built a group of human warriors who understood their own power. The tournament was coming soon. The Galactic Council had set it for 3 months away. Warriors from across the galaxy would come to compete. And Minai knew that she would have to fight the very best. She knew that her training with Ji-ho had been just the beginning. She knew that there were warriors out there in the galaxy who were stronger than any being she had faced. But she was not afraid, because now she understood something that no other species seemed to understand. Fear was not a weakness. Fear was information. Fear was your body telling you that something was important. And if you listened to your fear instead of running from it, your body would teach you how to be brave. That night, Minai walked through the academy. She passed the training circle where she had caught Ji-ho's blade. She remembered how scared she had been. She remembered how her hands had burned. And she remembered how good it had felt to do something that everyone said was impossible. The tournament would be the test, but Minai was ready. Humans were ready. The galaxy did not know it yet, but it was about to learn that it had underestimated humanity for far too long. Station Prime was the largest space station in the galaxy. It was built by neutral species that did not belong to any empire or faction. The station was a perfect sphere 3 kilometers wide, with training grounds, medical centers, and observation decks. It was where the greatest tournament of the galaxy would take place. Minai arrived 3 days before the tournament began. She came with Jinho, Nari, and a team of other human warriors that she had trained. They were not the best humans alive, but they were the humans who understood how to use their adaptive abilities. They were young, strong, and ready to prove that humanity belonged in the galaxy's greatest competition. The tournament had rules. Each match was 3 humans versus 3 aliens. The humans would fight warriors from 3 different species: Valorians, Zelthrans, and a species called the Krell, who were known for their psychic abilities. It was set up to be fair, at least in theory, but everyone knew that the 3 alien species had been fighting in tournaments for thousands of years. The humans had just discovered their abilities a few months ago. The observation deck was huge. Thousands of beings watched from behind glass. The camera system sent the images across the entire galaxy. Everyone wanted to see if humans could really compete with the best warriors the galaxy had ever known. The first match began in the morning. 3 human cadets faced 3 Valorian warriors. The humans had trained hard, but they were not as good as Minai. They were not as fast. They did not have her experience fighting perfect warriors. The match lasted 8 minutes. The humans lost badly. All 3 of them ended up in the medical center with injuries. The observation deck was quiet. People had expected humans to win. They had expected Minai's training to have made all humans great. But the truth was harder. Adaptation took time. It took practice. It took the right kind of mind. Not every human had what Minnie had. Minnie watched from the observation deck with anger in her heart. She had done her best to train these cadets, but her best was not enough. She felt like she had let them down. Jin-Ho put a hand on her shoulder. "It is not your fault," he said. "You taught them well, but these Valorians have been fighting for 1,000 years. We have been fighting for months. We need time." "We do not have time," Minnie said. "The tournament is happening now." The second match was different. This time, 3 other humans fought 3 Zelthrons. These humans had trained longer with Minnie. One of them was a girl named Su-Jin, who had learned Minnie's methods so well that she could fight without thinking. She moved like water. She fought with beauty and power. The match lasted 20 minutes, and it was very close. The humans did not win, but they did not lose either. The match was a draw, which meant the humans had held their own against warriors who were twice their size. The observation deck began to cheer. People had thought that humans would be destroyed. But the humans had shown that they could compete. Minnie knew that the third match would be the real test. 3 humans would fight 3 Krell. The Krell used psychic powers to fight. They could read minds. They could see the future. They could make their opponents hesitate and doubt themselves. Fighting the Krell was almost impossible because they knew what you were going to do before you did it. But Min-I had trained 3 humans specially for this. They were Nari, the doctor, Jin-Ho, the young cadet, and Su-Jin, the girl who had learned so well. These 3 had trained harder than anyone else. They understood something about how the Krell fought. "The Krell can read your mind," Minnie had told them. "So you do not use your mind. You use your body. You use instinct. You move before you think. You breathe. You feel. You become like an animal, not like a warrior with a plan." The match began. The 3 Krell warriors floated above the ground, their bodies glowing with psychic energy. They moved like they were not bound by normal gravity. They were beautiful and terrible to watch. Jin-Ho attacked first. He did not think. He just moved. His punch came at a Krell warrior with such speed and lack of planning that the Krell could not predict it. The Krell tried to move away, but Jin-Ho's fist connected. The Krell warrior was shocked. This had never happened before. A being had attacked without thinking it through first. Su-Jin and Nari moved at the same moment. They attacked together, their movements synchronized but unpredictable. They had practiced this for weeks. They moved like dancers, like fighters, like waves in the ocean. The 2 Krell warriors defending against them could not read their minds because their minds were empty. They were not thinking. They were just doing. The 3rd Krell warrior attacked Min-A. She had insisted on fighting in this match too. The Krell tried to freeze her mind, but Min-A had learned to surrender her mind instead. She let her thoughts go quiet. She became empty. And in that emptiness, she became powerful. The match lasted 30 minutes. At the end, both sides were exhausted. The humans did not win, but they did not lose either. The 3 humans were still fighting. The 3 Krell warriors were hurt. The observation deck erupted in cheers. When the match ended, something changed in the tournament. The other species began to see humans differently. They began to see them not as aliens that had gotten lucky, but as warriors who had something special, something that could not be taught in normal ways, something that came from deep inside. After the first day of matches, 2 things happened. First, the Valorian Empire, the Zelthrans, and the Krell all asked to study Minnie and her methods. They wanted to understand how humans could do what they did. Second, the Galactic Council announced that they were reopening negotiations with Earth. If humans could compete with the best warriors in the galaxy, then humans deserved a seat in the council. Humans deserved respect. That night, Minnie stood alone in her room on Station Prime. She looked out a window at the stars. Billions of stars, billions of worlds. And for thousands of years, humans had been treated as weak, treated as inferior, treated as beings that could not matter. But she had changed that, not alone, with Jin Ho and Nari and Su Jin and all the other humans who had believed that something inside them could be awakened. They had proven that humans were not less than any other species. They were just different. The next day, there would be more matches. Eventually, there would be a final match. And if she kept winning, Min-I would face Ji-Ho again. Not as a cadet being evaluated, but as a warrior facing a warrior. She was ready. And this time, when they fought, it would not be to see if a human could survive. It would be to see what a human could become. The age of humans being underestimated was over. The age of humans showing their true power had begun.